Let's consider two examples of presenting three metrics in Excel charts. Each visualization example has its own advantages and disadvantages. Therefore, a rational choice is to use both examples simultaneously on one dashboard. First, we will create the first visualization example based on a donut chart for three variable values. Suppose we need to display a comparison of the top three best metrics with each other over a certain accounting period. Prepare a table with the initial data. Note that there are empty rows between the value rows in the table. There should be one empty row for every value row. This is necessary to create a stylish and easily perceivable design of the donut chart with three values in one direction. In column B, fill in the initial values in percentage format. In column C, include a formula to calculate the remaining share from 100% after subtracting the initial value. Columns D and E will contain formulas for calculating the coordinates of the points. The positions of the points dynamically change around the chart, so we will need to use sine functions for calculating the positions along the x-axis and cosine functions for calculating the points' coordinates along the y-axis. Select the initial data table in the range of 3C7 and create a donut chart via the Insert Charts Doughnut menu. Use the Switch Rows and Columns button, as the values will change in one direction on the chart. Now, to decorate the donut chart, add three more data series using the Select Data Source tool. At this stage, each new series will refer to the Y-value cells in column E, one by one. The name of each series starts with the word light. For all three new data series, change the chart type to scatter, and as a result, we will get points for which the formulas calculated coordinates. Set and fix the minimum and maximum values on the axis so that the points are exactly in their places. The scatter points are still not in their correct positions because they also need X values to determine their location on the donut chart. Use the Select Data Source tool again, and now, after changing the chart type to scatter, we can fill in another field in all three newly added data series to specify the X-axis value. The logic of managing the points placement on the chart is now clear. We need to make adjustments because we are using a 3-layer donut chart in one direction for presenting all data series. When adjusting the coordinates for the third and first values, slightly change the formulas for calculating the points along the x-axis. Now all points are in their places. On a new sheet, create a rectangle with rounded corners and gradient fill for the background and border to design the visualization. Transfer the combined donut chart with points to the created panel. Specify the dimensions, position, and create a stylish design. fill the residual segments with a solid dark color. Fill the value sectors with a gradient fill from the same dark color to magenta at a 90-degree angle. Create beautiful starlights from the points on the chart. Use the settings for marker colors and sizes in the scatter chart. Add a glow effect to the marker points. Set the size to 39 points and transparency to 60%. The glow color is magenta. Add a text label by referencing cell B1 of the initial table from a text box element. Specify the link in the formula while the text box element is selected. Then format the font size and color of the label. We will need another formula to calculate the arithmetic mean of the three initial values. Display the formula result in the visualization using a new text box element. Create interactive elements and functionality for the visualization of the donut chart with 3 values. Use a pivot table and slicer buttons for this. Suppose the database for the top 3 metrics over a week is in the cell range H2K8. For example, fill the table with random relative values in percentages for each day of the week. Use the rand between function divided by 100 for this. Copy the random formula results and paste only the values in the same range so they no longer update. Then, sort each column separately and use the sum function to find the highest, average, and lowest values of the 3 columns to fill the mini database accordingly. Select the entire database table and create a pivot table based on it. In the pivot table constructor, specify the names of the days of the week as row headers. All other data columns are automatically connected to the value field. Change the final values in each pivot table column to average in the field parameters since we are using percentages. Then, connect the final values from the pivot table to the initial chart table using getPivotData functions. Create a slicer element based on the pivot table and design it. test the interactive capabilities of the Doughnut chart for 3 values in the style of a comet or 3 stars flying. Now, for comparison, create another visualization using a bubble chart. First, create an initial table for the chart in the cell range H10K13. The table also consists of 3 variable values, like in the previous example. The values in the X and Y columns are constants, they do not change, as this is necessary for the design. Only the variable values in the last rank column change. Select all rows of the initial table in the range H11K13 and create a bubble chart using the Insert Charts bubble tool. Without deselecting the new chart, use the Select Data Source tool to edit the data series references. The value ranges in the reference arguments should cover vertically. Fill in all fields accordingly and without errors. Now, set the minimum value to 0% and the maximum value to 100% for the axes. A crucial moment for the beauty of this visualization type is to set proportional height and width sizes for the chart so that everything looks nice. When scaling, do not violate the proportion, so always hold down the Shift key on the keyboard when resizing this chart. Prepare a place for the new data visualization block. Simultaneously copy the text and the rounded rectangle. Transfer the bubble chart template to the new panel. Design it and resize, but do not violate the height to width proportion. Hold down the Shift key on the keyboard when resizing with the mouse. Use a gradient fill with semi-transparent colors in different directions for the bubbles. add new columns to the mini database for the second visualization block and fill them with random values as before. Now inform the pivot table that the database has been expanded. To do this, change the reference arguments to the new data range for the pivot table. Use the pivot table analysis tool. Change the data source. In the table range input field, specify the reference to the new range. As a result, new data will appear in the constructor. Connect them by checking the box, and the pivot table will expand. Again, change all pivot table final values to averages in the field parameters. Then, connect the final values to the initial data table for the bubble chart. Check the final presentation result of all data visualization blocks with 3 values. As we can see, each visualization chart for comparing 3 values has its own advantages and disadvantages. Therefore, it will be useful for an Excel dashboard developer to learn how to create both visualization styles.